If you lived in Corpus Christi today, you might have realized that this city in the United States is the 8th most unhealthiest city ever. That's not surprising. Just take a look at this. Just take a look at this chart. North Carolina, 176, is probably the biggest ever. It's the 8th, 7. At 175, 176, we have North Carolina. Georgia, 177. At 178. Louisiana, Columbus, GA, 29. Laredo, Texas, 180. Gulfport, Mississippi, 181. And Brownsville, Texas, 24. This is all from WalletHub. But you might be asking yourself, why is that? Do we need to be worried? Tonight, we're going to turn the tables on this issue by asking an expert from the University of Corpus Christi on the island. And she may have some second thoughts about that report. Here with that story is my very good friend, Tony Halamir.
Corpus Christi being the 8th unhealthiest city in the country. Give me your immediate thoughts about that.
Oh, it's sobering. It doesn't surprise me. This has been long in coming.
Dr. Loika says that statistic isn't surprising for a number of reasons, one of which is the lack of access to healthcare for some individuals.
They're missing, unfortunately, what we call primary care. Primary care is almost an art form. It's where you see your primary care provider, and you see this person on an ongoing basis.
Which Dr. Loika says ongoing care could help some health issues like obesity.
So if there is the diagnosis of obesity, you can see this person again and again to figure out why, how, get the appropriate labs.
Another culprit is the food we eat. I ran into a nursing student who gave us his perspective on Corpus Christi food after moving from a bigger city.
You go to the urban cities, they have a lot of healthier places to eat at. Over here, it's kind of a lot of Tex-Mex, which, I mean, it's good, but it's not healthy.
Dr. Loika adds that the obesity rate in pediatrics is also alarming.
Here you have a child that watches a lot of TV, they see these ads, and a lot of the marketing is geared for these children to see these ads.
She says with all the unhealthy food marketed, parents must make informed, health-conscious food decisions.
We have to reevaluate what it is we're feeding our kids.
Dr. Loika says by shopping intentionally with a plan, it's still possible to shop cleaner. Reporting from TAMUCC, Tony Jaramillo, Chris 6 News.
Thanks, Tony, for that common sense. We can all use that when it comes to shopping for great food. Remember that beverage report we showed you earlier this season? It was a story all about breakfast foods. Foods that are out of breakfast bounds. And basically, there was just one person who just didn't like gummy bears for breakfast? Ice cream for breakfast? What's next? Strawberry shortcake? A pizza for breakfast? I mean, besides the breakfast pizza, of course, it's got egg, sausage, cheese, and gravy on a biscuit crust. I mean, I have that any day over a strawberry shortcake or some ice cream. I mean, take a look at me. You think I'm healthy? I mean, I could just unbutton my shirt and just do the whole show with just a t-shirt, and it wouldn't even surprise you. Basically, I'm a baseline going from an XL back to an L. The reason I wear XL is because I don't like clothes that just really tighten me. I mean, just focus on nutritious stuff and use your child's taste buds. That's basically the whole key here. We can all use our child's taste buds. Don't just say no. I mean, when it comes to breakfast, don't just say no. Focus on nutritional stuff. I mean, look at the food group. The things you should be eating. Grains, proteins, meats, vegetables, fruits, raw, cooked, fresh. I mean, we all got to follow that food pyramid that we all have to look at every day of the week. It's not that hard to just look at the whole pyramid and say to ourselves, we can make a healthy choice. We can if we raise some common sense. Do you also remember that Peter Jane story we told you about? How to get fat without really trying? It shows probably the same thing like what this person said. Exactly. It's all these advertisements that we're seeing for junk food. The ads are luring these kids in. And when I was in school, There was an old documentary that we watched. It's called Super Size Me. Basically, it tells the same shit that was on here, the same shit that she said. That's the same shit that's going on since Super Size Me. Basically, it's the same shit. The same shit that we see. All the advertisements, all the junk food. But comparing this to Super Size Me, there ain't no comparison. I'm not gonna blast Tony J if he sees this story, if he sees this issue on this broadcast. And I'm sorry, by the way. Won't ever happen again. What I can say is this. Use your child's taste buds. If they come out and say, I don't like it, tastes nasty. Try it. Your taste buds. It's all in the tongue, baby. All in the tongue. That's all in the tongue. Alright, getting outside of the unhealthy business, we're still going on unhealthy business, which is smoking. Last week, we told you about how Philip Morris hid the fact that how cigarettes contain nicotine, which is an addictive drug. But now, there's more statistics that are being shown from back in 1994. I'll have that story for you. And later on, the eclipse. Did you watch the eclipse? And also later, we're going to tell you what you can do to prepare for the eclipse happening years from now. Stay with us. It's going to get very exciting. Last week, we brought you to the tobacco wars. 2 John Martin reports all about how the tobacco industry was lying to sweep it under the rug and to hide the truth. We looked into documents. We looked into the Surgeon General's report. We also looked into the question about why are tobacco companies spiking their cigarettes with nicotine. Nicotine is an ingredient in every cigarette that could lead to an addiction. At least that's what the consumers are saying, and that's what the public is saying. But look at what happened when ABC, back in 94, 95, claimed that they add nicotine to it. Their asses got their asses sued. News organizations and documents that are being leaked. Later on, we're going to show you about the documents, the leaked papers, and about why Philip Morris, Bob Williamson years ago, decided to not release those documents because those were stolen. But now, according to an ABC News poll which was released years ago, 87% of people said yes, nicotine is a dangerous ingredient, while 11% said no. 65% said yes to regulate cigarette nicotine in cigarettes, while 34% said no. So why was all the suspicion happening in Capitol Hill? We also looked into the ingredients into the cigarettes, about why Congress would have to spend over $500,000 just to look at the list. So what was really going on back then? Here's John Martin.
What a difference a month makes. The world of smokers is shrinking. Every day, it seems, another town or city restricts smoking in public, even in bars and restaurants. At the national level, the Pentagon has banned smoking in the military workplace starting next month.
I'm pleased to announce today the department's new smoke-free workplace policy.
But last Friday, there was a double blow to the tobacco industry. First, the Labor Department said it wants smoking banned in the civilian workplace nationwide.
Each day in this country, working men and women face a threat to their health because of poor indoor air quality, including tobacco smoke and other contaminants.
And in a hearing one member called historic, the head of the Food and Drug Administration came to Congress to talk about regulating cigarettes as a drug for the first time in history.
Tobacco industry officials have denied that nicotine is addictive. They use euphemisms, satisfaction, impact, strength to describe the effects of nicotine. Euphemisms aside, smokers crave nicotine, pure and simple.
He has said that the evidence which he has seen suggests that the tobacco industry, in fact, is manipulating the level of nicotine in cigarettes. And that is going to force us in Congress to sit down and finally regulate this deadly product. 3 weeks ago, with pressure mounting, the tobacco industry launched a counterattack. Thousands of workers were bused to Washington to oppose President Clinton's proposal to raise federal cigarette taxes. 20,000 people showed up to protest. The purpose, said Philip Morris president and CEO William Campbell, was to tell Americans not to pay for health care with tobacco taxes.
Most importantly, it's about workers and real people who are sick and damn tired of being singled out as the bad guy in the healthcare debate.
But so far, it hasn't worked. Within days, a congressional subcommittee voted to impose an even higher federal tax than the president asked for.
I'm voting for the tobacco tax because I believe very strongly that this is the right thing to do.
All this in just the 32 days since Commissioner Kessler signaled in a letter that the FDA is considering whether to regulate a product that kills 400,000 Americans a year. In his letter, he cited evidence suggesting tobacco companies may intend that their products contain nicotine to satisfy an addiction. In fact, it is our understanding, he wrote, that manufacturers commonly add nicotine to cigarettes to deliver specific amounts of nicotine.
The Food and Drug Administration announced
3 days later, Day One broadcast results of its own independent investigation, which found evidence supporting Dr. Kessler's suggestion that the companies carefully maintain levels of nicotine in cigarettes. This past week, Philip Morris, the nation's largest cigarette maker, filed a $10 billion lawsuit against ABC News. The suit claims Day One's report contained false statements and false implications about the company's use of nicotine. ABC issued an immediate response saying it stands by its report.
The reason we brought this lawsuit is because we believe that sometimes the hysteria surrounding the issue of tobacco makes people think that we are fair game for anything that people want to say about us, even though it is clearly untrue and defamatory.
The next day, Dr. Kessler paid his visit to the House Subcommittee on Health and the Environment.
The public may think of cigarettes as no more than blended tobacco rolled in paper. But they are more than that. Some of today's cigarettes may in fact qualify as high-technology nicotine delivery systems that deliver nicotine in quantities sufficient to create and to sustain addiction in the vast majority of individuals who smoke regularly.
Dr. Kessler also cited numerous cigarette industry patents that mention nicotine.
These are the words of the patent. Add nicotine, maintaining or increasing the nicotine content. The release in controlled amounts of nicotine.
Kessler could not say whether the patents are in use, but he cited other evidence suggesting cigarette nicotine levels. He disputed claims that the amount of nicotine is dropping as the amount of tar is reduced.
In fact, these data suggest that the amount of tar over this time period has remained relatively flat, while the proportional amount of nicotine has not. Rather, nicotine levels in smoke appear to increase over the last decade.
Kessler also revealed new FDA laboratory studies showing, paradoxically, that some so-called low-yield cigarettes have a higher nicotine concentration than high-yield cigarettes.
One question. If there is no manipulation of nicotine going on, why does the lowest yield cigarette I just showed you have the highest percentage of nicotine in it?
Witnesses from the tobacco industry rejected any claims of nicotine manipulation.
The allegations of Day One and David Kessler concerning nicotine manipulation are false and inconsistent with the reported data and nicotine on commercial brands.
We're being accused of something we're not doing, Mr. Chairman, and we're being accused of it for the purpose of creating addiction. That's what we're accused of. We're saying, number one, we don't do it.
Are you aware of any significant reliable evidence that would support the proposition that the manufacturers leave nicotine in cigarettes for any reason other than addiction?
No.
These hearings will certainly not mark the end of this debate. There will be more hearings and more controversy before the federal government decides whether to regulate nicotine in cigarettes as a drug.
But more hearings are continuing to happen. Why is that? Well, because of one word. Documents. For years, tobacco companies have been pleading with the federal government to just say, hey, we need these documents in, we don't want people stolen. We don't want them stolen or being publicized. But things have changed when somehow somebody got one of their offices and stole something very important, which was documents. So we've just seen about how whether the federal government would regulate or not regulate cigarettes as a drug. And when we come back, we're going to tell you all about the documents that were stolen from somebody, from Brian Williamson, the company that sued 60 Minutes for that Jeffrey Wagner interview, which I may show this week. I said I wasn't going to show it, but I'm thinking about showing it this week. It may happen, may not happen, but we'll let you know. When we come back, the documents and what attorneys may say may happen if those will lead to public. Stay with us. Alright everybody, we're back. Now if you just joined us, we're focusing on how the tobacco industry years ago claimed that it's not spiking its cigarettes with nicotine. I'm not being biased when it comes to smoking. I never smoke, and believe me, I never vape, I never smoke. But there's something new about this. Years ago, documents surfaced all about what they knew and why they want to hide it. Even the ingredients list, the list of ingredients that was being put on, that was on that piece of paper. But now Brian Williamson claims that those documents were stolen by somebody. Who stole them? You're about to see those documents and memorandums that may tell a different side of the papers. You'll also meet somebody, you'll also see that Brian Williamson statement, and you'll meet a couple people who may want to claim about why Brown and Williamson wants to hide the papers. Here's Forrest Sawyer.
Now there is an extraordinary new development in the fight over cigarettes, an unparalleled opportunity to examine the inner thoughts of one member of the tobacco industry. Documents have surfaced, thousands of pages, from a cigarette company called Brown and Williamson and its parent company, the British American Tobacco Company, called BAT. They're the makers of Viceroy, Kool, and Raleigh cigarettes. The documents are internal communications dating all the way back to the 1950s, and they show how much the companies knew about the harmful effects of cigarettes and how they responded to the growing health crisis.
These documents may be the most significant disclosure of internal tobacco industry documents in the last 50 years.
How did the tobacco industry, for all these years since people knew smoking caused lung cancer, how did they survive? How did they beat back the political pressures that were brought against them? How did they intimidate the health community? How did they keep the health community from taking meaningful action to control them? And to me, it's a fascinating story.
Winston tastes good like a cigarette.
This story begins in the 1950s, when America was booming, and cigarettes were an integral part of life. The ads were everywhere, and smoking meant fun. But even back then, there were concerns that smoking could be linked to cancer, and the tobacco companies made a dramatic move to ease the public's concerns, issuing what they called a frank statement that said, "We accept an interest in people's health as a basic responsibility." But this was a sensitive subject. The documents show that by 1957, some BAT researchers were using the code name Zephyr, apparently a reference to cancer. One document repeatedly used the code name, noting, "The idea has arisen that there is a causal relationship between Zephyr
and tobacco smoking. The documents do not explain why the code name was used in the first place.
This is a way to hide this from yourself. If you can make a game of it and say, Zephyr is alleged to be caused by smoking.
Dr. John Slade is an anti-smoking advocate who studies the effects of smoking.
It's a little more comfortable, perhaps, to be talking about that in sort of play language than to be talking about cancer.
In congressional hearings just this past April, tobacco company executives continued to express cautions when asked about the findings of outside medical researchers. This was one view.
They agree that smoking causes lung cancer. Do you agree?
It may.
Do you know whether it does?
I do not know. The documents raise questions about the public pronouncements of tobacco company executives. In 1962, VAT executive A.D. McCormick told a meeting of researchers from 4 continents, quote, "You are in much too responsible a position to get up and say, I accept that the product which we and our competitors are putting on the market gives you lung cancer, whatever you might think privately."
It brings into serious question every statement they have made about addiction and health over the last 30 years.
Attorney Matthew Myers, who has been shown the documents, represents a coalition of anti-smoking groups.
They should have told them the truth. They should have told them what they knew.
By 1965, it appears some Brown and Williamson researchers were debating how to deal with emerging evidence of a relationship between cancer and tobacco. A memo quoting the company's research director says, "Scientists with whom I talked were unanimous in their opinion that smoke is weakly carcinogenic under certain conditions." Another document refers to animal studies showing that in sufficient doses, tobacco condensate acts as a carcinogen. The documents show that some executives did argue for research that would lead to safer cigarettes, even forming a less hazardous cigarettes committee. They lost the debate, and the safer cigarette was abandoned. Dr. Dietrich Hoffman, a tobacco scientist at the American Health Foundation.
The moment they would have brought a less harmful cigarette, less toxic cigarette on the market, they would have admitted that the cigarette is toxic, is carcinogenic.
There was also considerable research on the effects of nicotine, the substance that is causing so much controversy today. There were studies codenamed Mad Hatter and Hippo, and there was some plain talk about addiction. In 1963, Addison Yeaman, general counsel at Brown and Williamson, wrote, "We are then in the business of selling nicotine, an addictive drug effective in the release of stress mechanisms." 2 researchers wrote that same year, "Unlike other dopings, such as morphine, the demand for increasing dose levels is relatively slow for nicotine." They also wrote, "In a chronic smoker, the normal equilibrium can be maintained only by continuous nicotine intake. This unconscious desire explains the addiction of the individual to nicotine."
Their open acceptance of the fact that it was addicting indicates to me that they looked on that as a desirable property, as something that helped keep their customers buying product. The relaxing effects, the stimulating effects, the weight loss effects were seen as advantages that could be balanced against the disease-causing effects. Yes, it causes lung cancer, but it also helps you control your weight.
By the 1970s, the tobacco industry had responded to growing public concerns about smoking by offering a new kind of cigarette, one low in tar and nicotine. But early research suggested the cigarette would not really reduce nicotine intake. The documents refer to a study which says the smoker adjusts his pattern to deliver his own nicotine requirements. In other words, he keeps smoking until his desire for nicotine is satisfied. The documents also show strategies for dealing with potentially damaging information. Research was to be done by an outside organization, the Council for Tobacco Research. A 1978 memorandum says it is better to have someone else doing the research, quote, which, if it goes wrong, can become the smoking pistol in a lawsuit. A 1979 memo recommends placing potentially damaging research under attorney-client privilege, so anyone suing the company could not have access to it. A full 40 years after the tobacco companies issued their frank statement to the American people, executives continue to hold a position that is now disputed by almost the entire scientific community.
I believe nicotine is not addictive.
I believe that nicotine is not addictive. I believe that nicotine is not addictive.
We now have 40 years of evidence of cover-up, of dissembling, of a refusal to confront the major problems their products cause. The dogma continues, the pretense continues that smoking isn't a cause of disease.
Brown and Williamson has said it believes documents similar to the ones obtained by Day One were stolen from its law firm's offices in violation of attorney-client privilege. The papers do appear to be widely distributed now. Other news organizations have quoted from similar documents. The House Subcommittee on Health and the Environment has received a set, and Day One obtained its documents from a university professor who told us he received an unsolicited, anonymous package filled with the papers. Legal wrangling has already begun. The House Subcommittee wants Brown and Williamson to testify at a hearing, and the company says it has obtained a court order compelling various news organizations and even the subcommittee itself to show them the documents they've received. Late this afternoon, Brown and Williamson sent us a news release saying that today it had made public, quote, studies that correct erroneous reports about nicotine research attributed to the company, and that, quote, do not conclude that nicotine is addicting. We should point out that we have not seen those studies. Brown and Williamson has authorized Brennan Dawson of the Tobacco Institute to speak on its behalf, and she is with us live in our Washington bureau. Ms. Dawson, you see how fascinating people find these documents to be. Are there any circumstances in which Brown and Williamson would consider simply releasing them for public scrutiny?
Well, in fact, what Brown and Williamson did today, and what you just referred to, is they released the actual studies that seem to be being talked about in media reports. What they don't know, and what they've had to reluctantly go to court to try to find out, is what documents are being sent through the mail. I mean, what documents were stolen? Are they, in fact, company documents? This is exactly the kind of problem that the whole tobacco industry is faced with right now. It's faced with a situation that is full of innuendo, that's full of charges being selectively pulled out and then spread widely. And what we're asking for is a level playing field. In this case, Brown and Williamson asking Mr. Waxman and the subcommittee, let's just take a look at what documents you want us to answer questions about. In the meantime, here are the actual studies that people seem to be talking about that, well, in fact, do not conclude that nicotine is addicting.
Of course, what your critics are concerned about is you might be selectively releasing certain kinds of materials, and there are these documents that are already out in the public arena. So the question is, would Brown and Williamson consider allowing those documents then to go to public scrutiny?
Well, that's a decision that Brown and Williamson, in conjunction with a court order prohibiting them to do just that, will have to decide. But in the meantime, isn't it only fair that critics of the industry, again, selecting portions of documents that people don't know where they came from, so they can't even authenticate them, should be able to review them in order to respond.
All right,
in the
you want to look at
meantime,
what
time after time, the tobacco industry, today, Brown and Williamson releasing the original studies. Several weeks ago, the manufacturer is joining to release the list of ingredients in cigarettes on a voluntary basis. I mean, this is the kind of information that we believe should continue to be forthcoming. But these charges that are based on speculation.
I'm very sorry about the time. I thank you very much for joining us. Brennan Dawson with the Tobacco Institute. Henry Waxman is the congressman with the House Subcommittee on Health and the Environment. Sir, put these documents in perspective. Are they important to you?
I think what we've got to put in perspective is the fact that the tobacco industry has operated in secret for decades, and the public and the Congress have been kept from the information about what they have known about the health impacts of nicotine addiction in smoking. It seems to me that our job is to be responsible to the public to get this information. We're going to do it in a fair way. We're going to do it in a responsible manner. But I don't think the tobacco industry ought to ask for special treatment. We're going to give them fair treatment.
Well, what they were saying is perhaps you're not being fair. Perhaps these documents were actually stolen from their law offices and that they are under attorney-client privilege. And they only have asked the right to be able to review.
We've heard from Brown and Williamson's attorney, and they asked for a delay on the hearing we had scheduled for tomorrow. We've given them that delay. We've also told them that we're not going to question them on any documents except those which they give to the subcommittee, and they have promised us documents and we're yet to receive them. We're going to question them about news reports, which I think they ought to have an opportunity to be able to respond to. And I think a congressional forum is to put things into context and to get us to understand what is being said that isn't accurate.
We are told that you have been handed a court order from a Kentucky judge who says that you should turn over those documents so that Brown and Williamson can review them and determine if they were stolen. Will you comply?
You know, the tobacco industry can hire the best lawyers, the best public relations people. They have a high economic interest in trying to keep the public from knowing the truth about cigarette smoking. We're going to be fair to them, but we're not going to be intimidated by them either.
Congressman, the question, of course, is whether you'll let them look at them.
Well, we're talking to our House counsel to see whether that's an appropriate action for us to take. And they have told us that it would be an extraordinary action to have them go through the files of a subcommittee of the Congress of the United States while an investigation is going on. We won't ask them questions about any documents at the hearing we have scheduled, except those which they give to us and those that have been reported on in the public domain. And I think they ought to have a chance to give their side of the story, and we will give them that opportunity.
There is so much fighting going on over these documents, and there's certainly legal wrangling going on in the future. Why are these papers so important?
You know, the news reports about these papers indicate that perhaps the tobacco industry has known for a long time information that they deny even to today about the health impacts of cigarette smoking and the addiction from the nicotine in smoking. I think we've got to find out what they have known and get that information to the public and not let them hide all this information as they've been able to do for decades. They've been able to obfuscate.
Ms. Dawson, very quickly, if you would, your response.
Well, first of all, the studies, again, that have been widely speculated upon in the media were made public today. So I hope that Mr. Waxman has an opportunity to review them, and I hope he provides the companies an opportunity to review those documents that have been stolen, that may not be theirs, before he asks them to be questioned.
Ms. Dawson and Congressman Waxman, I thank you both very much for joining us. We'll be following the story. And we will be right back.
It comes to telling you that it's theft. But when you steal something, you're obligated to be ordered to. You're obligated to have a court order saying that you must show what you have proved. That's like stealing somebody's video. And you remember the incident to where, remember the Franklin Song incident to where they stole it? It wasn't stolen. I mean, we heard a statement saying that they applaud this person and that person because of this, but clearly it's just all about what's going on. It's a legal matter. Clearly when something says confidential, it doesn't. If it's confidential, it doesn't mean you don't need to look at it. If you watermark it confidential on a Microsoft document, that means it's confidential. Even if you were typing out on a top page saying confidential, news organizations are going to look at every document, and then they're going to say to themselves, and then it's like, wow, we found a nice deal on the cake right there. Not realizing what the repercussions could be unless people take extra precautions in what goes on. So what does that tell you, boys and girls? It basically tells you, A, respect confidentiality, and B, do not go behind the backs of companies. That's key here. Alright, did you see the solar eclipse? If you did, and you're ready for the next one, we're going to show you what you can prepare for from USA Today's Problem Solves Christopher. Stay with us. Did you happen to see the solar eclipse while you were outside? Maybe you did. Maybe it was too cloudy for you to see. If you did, and we'd love to see that again, it won't happen again until 20 years from now. But would you like to know more about how to be prepared for the next one? You might take some extra precaution when you watch this clip. From Problem Solved, here's Christopher.
And since it's such a rare astronomical event, you don't want to miss out. You'll need a pair of glasses that are properly rated. Sunglasses are not enough. You can also find affordable, recyclable paper versions. Solar events happen all the time, so a more durable pair can last you several years. Properly rated glasses will have some safety instructions, so be sure to follow them to protect your eyes. If you are getting glasses last minute, be sure to pick them up from a reputable source. Retailers like Walmart and Amazon should have options. And also check optometry offices and sunglass retailers. They may offer a free pair as a promotion. And for extra comfort, I recommend a picnic blanket or lounge chair to support your neck while viewing the event. And even though the moon will be blocking the sun temporarily, don't forget things like sunscreen and maybe a water bottle to stay hydrated. The eclipse is coming, and since it's such a...
It could be cool. So these are not okay. I wear these, and let me tell you, these are not okay for the sun. And even then, maybe with a hat, could block out the sun. But let me tell you, that may not be okay. It may be okay to you, but to others, it may not be okay. A lot of people have seen this, so I've never even seen a solar eclipse before. In my entire life. Nope, did not even see solar eclipse. I mean, there was one here today. I didn't get a chance to see him because I was really busy at work. Alright, switching gears now. I was going on my Instagram, and I realized that there was a parody It wasn't a Texas Hold'em. It wasn't an actual song, Texas Hold'em. It was something like, eat your breakfast, don't forget this book bag. Put that phone down, no. Something like that, I mean. This was from TikTok. So this parody went on for, because we didn't know the original song Texas Hold'em. We talked about this when they claimed that Beyonce stole the song, stole the theme. If you don't remember, let's see, if you don't remember the rhythm, let me play it for you. But that rhythm led to controversy, thinking like, oh, she stole it from Franklin, but the writer for the Franklin song came out saying that she applauds her for doing a great job with it, but he had no interest in that song, in that rhythm. So she applauds her. Actually, you know what? I think you get the picture. I think you could probably get the picture here if you saw what happened. All right. I got nothing else to talk about here, so we're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a break. We'll be right back. Parenting is a partnership, not one against the other. Here's a question to answer. How much time does it take for a father to spend time with his children? During the work week, fathers spend an average of 8 minutes a day in meaningful conversations with their children. And mothers spend half that time socializing with the kids. Which is why I decided to show you this story. Corporations are just doing everything, just get family back together, but families need that help even more. Tonight, you're going to meet some experts in the field, the best experts, with a family, and ask the question, how do we fix this? How do we bring the family back together? We start with, we'll show you one family who the mom says that her marriage is falling apart. Here's Jay Schaefer.
We're just too tired. Our lives are too hectic, and I just can't manage to get out of bed.
The kids are so time consuming and so exhausting.
We have basically no time to ourselves.
Oh, Brooke is peeing on the floor!
I get 3 weeks off a year. I'm on that box 5 days a week. I have a 30-year mortgage.
During the week, there's no house cleaning being done.
I worry about us as a family.
Let go, Brooke.
You know, where we're going, how we're going to end up.
I just have to keep going and keep going and keep going until I can't go anymore.
I've only had 3 hours of sleep for 3 nights in a row.
The marriage is in crisis.
We're just overwhelmed at the moment.
Just another day in the life of a frantic middle-class American family. Jeannie Bain and John Herzog, both in their early 30s, live in suburban New Jersey with their 2 children, 3-year-old Ian and 1-year-old Brooke. Jeannie writes for a small advertising firm. John is a supervisor at a bank in New York City. They've been married 4 years.
What was your idea of what your life was going to be like?
Certainly nothing close to what it is.
No, nothing like what it is. And at this point in our life, all we're doing is surviving. We are spending 24 hours a day in the interest of food, clothing, shelter, caring for the children.
To document this all-American time squeeze during just one typical weekday, we use 6 cameras to record every dizzying detail of the family's life, from dawn to dark. Among our findings, husband and wife spoke to each other face-to-face for a total of 3 minutes. They spent 4.5 hours commuting. Mom was alone with her children for 3.5 hours, Dad for 30 minutes. The kids spent 9 hours and 45 minutes in daycare, and Ian was in front of the television for 3 hours.
I think this is very typical. This is America today.
Judson Galbraith is the editor of Working Mother magazine. As a writer, lecturer, and mother herself, she's one of 2 time management experts we used to review tapes and transcripts of our family's day.
I think time management really is at the core of happiness. A family that's running well has time to be together, has individual time. That's what you want to do. You want to make sure the organization is in place so that you can do the things that make you happy.
Our other expert, Dr. Stephen Covey, is the author of several bestsellers, including The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and First Things First.
For John and Jeannie, first things first would be what? What are the most important goals they want to work toward? Do they have an overall sense of what their purpose is in their marriage and in their family life?
Before that question can be answered, let's return to our cameras to watch just how this family's daily struggle unfolds.
I'm up at 6 and out of the house by 6:35.
I'm catching my last few minutes of sleep. Usually Ian wakes up first.
Would you like to go downstairs and watch a video?
If he's not watching a video, I'm not eating my breakfast in peace, or I'm not able to go around the house and easily gather up my things for work. Are you ready to get dressed? Would you like me to get your clothes? I'm alone with the kids in the morning for a good hour.
Be careful, Brookie.
And I take them to daycare.
Okay. Bye-bye, Brookie. Bye-bye. All right, it's okay. I'm out of here.
The whole morning time, morning madness is what it's become. What should it feel like?
It should feel like a haven. This is a warm, peaceful time. There should be more quiet time in the morning.
So tip number 1, wake up 20 minutes before the kids.
Be ready to go out the door yourself, except for slipping on your clothes at the last minute. Have everything ready so that she can set the tone for the morning.
Tip number 2, replace the cartoons with a cuddle.
The very first thing she does in the morning was she leaned over, said hello, and said, "Do you want to see a video?" How bad is that?
Well, a little bit of TV might be okay, but I think it's used in an unhelpful way in this family. It's used as a bribe. It's used as a babysitter. Ian really wants more time with his mom. If she gave herself more time in the morning, maybe she would want to even get into bed with him and cuddle, put another blanket on him, warm up his body temperature so he really, his body wakes up physically. Maybe bring a glass of orange juice and raise his blood sugar level.
Tip number 3, keep it simple. Too many choices is a prescription for trouble.
Would you like to get dressed first? Yeah. Would you like to eat Cheerios? Yeah. And would you like me to turn the TV off?
A child this age needs only one, two choices. So he sort of is overstimulated and is in a tantrum.
So how do you deal with that?
Pick him up, give him a hug, but don't try to reason it. That's just totally a waste of time. This is also where predictability would help. If they had a regular schedule, you know what to expect, and it would be more reasonable.
By 8:30, morning madness is over. The kids are in daycare and the parents are on their way to work.
Get on the bus, go into the city, walk to my job. Usually I'm rushed.
We don't have many options here. We have to work. And we have to put them in daycare.
This is Daddy, this is Brooke, and this is Ian, and this is Jimmy.
What the hell are we having for dinner?
I don't know. At work, I'm definitely run by the clock in terms of what bus can I catch out of here, and can I leave this problem?
The pressure and the onus is on me to get to the daycare to pick them up by 6.
Do you feel like you're hurting your career in some ways by the time that you've had to spend
Yes.
doing families?
Yes, absolutely. Having to pick the children up every day, I kind of walk out on situations that I always shouldn't walk out on.
I make decisions all the time to leave, so I do get that hour with Brooke.
They're really doing some heroic things, but they're compromising in every area of life, and they know it.
Mired in life's details, Covey says John and Jeannie have lost sight of the big picture. So, tip number 1, stop thinking of yourself as trapped.
Realize you're in control. You are not a victim. You're not a product of your past, of your genes, or of your present circumstances. John and Jeannie's life is being driven by the clock, continuously. They have no compass. They have no real sense of what the most important things are. What are you living for? What are you working toward?
That's what we lose sight of in the fray of daily existence.
I have no idea. I haven't thought about it for 3 years.
Tip number 2, with your spouse, write a statement of goals, just a short paragraph describing your priorities in life. That can trigger all sorts of changes.
They may move to a different place, they may change jobs, they may ask for a leave of absence for a couple of years. All kinds of people in this country have asked these deeper issues.
Of course, just setting our priorities won't instantly create peace and order in our lives. And that's especially true of working women with children, who often have to pull a second shift. The fact is, the average working mother in this country spends 44 hours a week at her job and then has to clock an additional 31 hours at home on family chores, twice as much as men. That is what Jeannie faces as she begins her second shift.
Oh, sweetie. The most stressful moment of the day is immediately after school. You are engaged in an hour-long power struggle, basically, and there's always a good deal of screaming involved. While I'm feeding Brooke and trying to get whatever meal we're having organized, the video goes in and keeps them quiet. The pancakes are stuck in the toaster! I just can't keep them entertained long enough to get a full meal on the table.
We often don't eat supper at the same time. We take turns because the kids have to be watched. Dinner as a concept has kind of gone by the wayside.
It has totally.
For Jeannie, the stress begins with that rocky ride home after picking up the kids from daycare. So tip number 1, a hug in time saves 9 tantrums.
I mean, this is hard for Ian. He wants her to sit there and be with him and not think about anything else except for him. You know, drop everything. Just throw your purse on the floor. Sit down with him for a few minutes. Again, to save time, because this is taking an enormous amount of time out of her day. Plus, it's creating such tension in the household that no one is thinking straight.
Tip number 2, when it comes to dinner, don't reinvent the wheel every night.
Come up with your 10 standard meals. This is what we're going to eat during this. And work your shopping list from that. You need to make one permanent list, photocopy it, have that every week, and then just go through the refrigerator, do a quick inventory. Oh, we need this and this, check it off.
John finally arrives home at 7:15.
Hello?
And 2 minutes later, we record the single longest face-to-face exchange between husband and wife.
So how was your day aside from the bus for you?
You want some spaghetti? It lasted 6 seconds. The evening's begun.
Are you guys ready for your bath? No, Miss Brooke, no boring outside the time.
Brooke is good about sleeping.
Night, night, there's your dolly.
Ian is not. On the contrary, he's picking up steam around 9.
So we don't get any time to ourselves.
The dishes aren't done.
The toys aren't picked up. There's a pile of laundry to do. By the time Ian goes to bed, I am exhausted, ready for bed myself.
I still have a little something left, so I'm gonna watch a video tonight.
Now, a lot of people may say like, "Oh, this was a one-parter, that wasn't a two-parter." Well, I'm gonna give you my interpretation of nighttime and bedtime when we come back. Stay with us. Let's face it, when it comes to parenting, there's time management that needs to be involved here. We've shown you how one group of parents was like going all surviving, struggling throughout this, that, and the other, this, that, the third, and then all of a sudden it turns into a screaming match. So far, there were tips from the day to even the mornings were like, but the nighttime is just basically to where things have gotten worse. But for John and Jeannie, it was just like, what the hell do we do? I'll tell you what you can do. You need to set a real strict bedtime schedule. Meaning put a bedtime schedule in place. That way you get the kids in bed first, then you have time for yourselves. It's basic. You don't just sit there and go, okay, by the time he goes to bed, I'm going to go to bed too. Nope. If you do that, you do not have time for yourselves. You don't have time for yourselves. You don't get time to yourselves. What do you mean? There's chores to get done, dishes to get done, this, that, and the third, and because you're entertaining your child, set a bedtime in place. Like, okay, Ian gets up at 6 o'clock, okay, and then what time does he go to bed? Every person needs their sleep for a very proportion of their age. I mean, babies get like over 8 hours of sleep. A big person size like me can get 8 hours of sleep. Animals can even hibernate overnight like bears. A person like some people can get by over up to 6 hours of sleep. So it depends on your bedtime routine. Set a bedtime routine, put a bedtime routine in place. And say to yourself, okay, this is what needs to happen. Like, he gets up at this time, and he needs to go to bed at this time. If you put a bedtime for your child, if you put a bedtime in place for your child, you may have some time to yourselves to get the dishes done, to get some laundry done. That way, your child can get up and be great and can be healthy and have a good 8 hours of sleep a day. It's basic. Experts may say, well, that's wrong, this, that, and the other. Well, it's basically what I watch. I mean, they get out of bed, okay, just put them back in bed. I mean, there's the bedtime routine. I think I can't remember it, but here's what I remember. First time you get up, it's bedtime. Second time, bedtime. Throughout the third, if it happens ever again, you don't say nothing. Don't say anything. Because you're rewarding communication. If you think I'm quoting Super Nanny, you're right. I would show you a clip, but then I would be demonetized. I would be demonetized for showing that video. I just want to throw it in there before we ran out of time. Because let me tell you guys, sometimes when I pull up stories, I tend to pull up a story that would even knock someone's lights out. Or even a story that could even break a heart. But there is going to be a story we're gonna have come up on Wednesday. We're gonna have a story about healthcare system in South Florida, the poorest parts of the country. I mean, the poorest part of Florida. We're gonna take hidden cameras there. We're gonna show you what can happen. We're also gonna show you all about rip-off scams. Those how VCR shreds your favorite tape, and how the computer screen goes blank. And you have a mercy of a repairman. I mean, who may not have a story to tell, basically. That's on Wednesday. But now we get to the moose boosh. It's viral break time. You know, there was this. Oops, wrong tab. Before starting the show, I looked at this. I was on Facebook one time, and I came across I came across some videos from this person. His name from the channel.
Get some.
TB Funny as F. And one of my favorites was My Grandbabies. Now this channel has full of a bunch of videos. I'm going to show you some of these 60-second videos which you can find on your Facebook or Instagram or from a YouTube short. We start. I mean, this was. It's like, I'm calling Grandma. Call your grandma. Man, let's take a look at this one.
Alright, Malik, go and tell him what you want. Didn't I tell you had your order ready before you got up here? You always do this. Ain't nothing changed on this McDonald's menu. Matter of fact, I got some for your ass. Hey, just cancel the whole order. You finna go home and eat some cereal.
I ain't finna go eat no cereal.
Yes, you finna go home eating Frosted Flakes.
You don't even got Frosted Flakes. You got Frosted Fakes.
Well, you finna eat them. I don't give a damn. At least it's frosted.
Hey, grandma.
Hey, my grandpa.
I don't care nothing about you calling her.
Yeah, my dad not letting me eat McDonald's and making me get busted fake.
Put him on the phone.
Bro, she ain't changing my mind. Ma'am.
Now, what the hell is some Frosted Flakes?
Well, they something like the knockout Cheerios used to buy me. They were called Buddha-O's.
Now, I don't remember that, but it's 5 o'clock in the goddamn afternoon, and you trying to feed my grandbaby some damn cereal. You must be trying to give him some gas. Now, take my grandbaby back to McDonald's.
Yes,
right
ma'am.
now.
Thank you.
Alright, Malik, go and tell him what you want.
Damn what you want. That's one of my favorites. Call grandma. I don't care. I'm gonna call grandma. It was kind of funny. Call your grandma. I don't care. This girl's one kind of my favorite.
Tom.
Nope.
Why?
Cause you don't sell your candy.
Okay, I'm gonna call grandma.
I don't care who you call. I'd have bought a big old bag. Eat it in your face.
Hey, grandma.
Hey, my grandbaby.
Yeah, my dad not sharing his candy.
Put him on the phone.
Ma'am.
My grandbaby said you not share your candy. Why you ain't buy him none?
Well, how about you go buy him some?
Let me tell you one goddamn thing. You don't tell me do a motherfucking thing. Now sit up. Act like you got some damn sense. Now you better give my grandbaby some of that candy. Before you come up missing like Carla Russell. And you better not eat a damn nothing. Put that candy back in that bag. Matter of fact, give my grandbaby the whole bag.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Here, since you want to be a baby.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Call your grandma. I don't care. Man, I don't care who you call. I'ma call my grandma. Call your grandma. I don't care. Thank you.
I ain't taking out Urban Air no more.
Why?
Cause y'all dropped my soda, that's why.
What do we know? Beef for this.
Well, you better keep Wayne.
I ain't my grandma.
Hey, grandma.
Oh, hell no. Bye, grandma. Not gonna run this stove. Y'all stop throwing temper tantrums.
Can I get some Skittles?
You ain't getting nothing. Y'all work my nerves all weekend.
Goofy. He tripping. Here, call your grandma back. That's a thing. Hey, grandma.
I ain't my grandbaby.
Yeah, my dad not taking us to Urban Air no more because we drunk his soda. He probably drinking himself.
Where he at?
Yeah, he in the store right now. Matter of fact, there you go right now.
I love my wife. What you going on?
Well, what the hell you mean while I'm on the phone? Why you hung up in my face?
Oh, I ain't mean to do that.
You's a goddamn lie. Now, why you telling my grandbaby he can't go to Urban Air? And I'm the one who paying for it. Your black broke ass must lost your damn mind.
Why don't you take him to Urban Air?
Let me tell you one goddamn thing. Do not quit talking back before I take my foot and shove it up your ass. You ain't got but 3 toes. Nah. If my grandbaby say he ain't drunk your damn song, then goddamn it, he ain't drink. Nah. Take my grandbaby to Urban Air so they can enjoy themselves. But before it be some mother, your problem.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Matter of fact, and you drunk your soda.
Matter of fact, y'all get out. Get out!
This is why I stopped shopping on Amazon, and you should too. Don't spend it.
Hey, Daddy, get go McDonald's. You got some McDonald's money? That's what I thought. I'm gonna call my grandma. Call him. And here's one more for my favorites.
What going on?
Can we go to the pool?
No.
Why? Grandma said
It's
you
closed.
taking us. No,
it's
it's
closed.
not. Grandma,
Yes, it is.
Grandma said you taking us.
I don't care what grandma said. I'm tired. I stayed out all night last night. So what we finna do is go home. You finna take a nap. You finna take a nap. And guess what? Y'all dream about the pool.
Oh, Grandma go
Grandma ain't gonna get nobody.
Hey, Grandma.
I ain't my grandbaby.
Yeah. Dad not taking us to the pool.
Damn so lame.
He said he don't care what you say.
Put him on the phone.
Damn so don't. Ma'am.
I told my grandbabies about their swimming pool, and they seem excited.
Well, how about you take them?
Let me tell you one goddamn thing right now. You'll tell me do a motherfucking thing. Now take my grandbaby to that swimming pool, or ain't gonna take Jesus his tour to cycle to get me off your black ass. You understand me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
What's going on?
Can we go to the pool?
No.
Why? Grandma said
It's
you
closed.
taking us. No,
It's
it's
closed.
not.
Yes,
Grandma.
That was kind of funny. Wow. That's Give Me a Break for this Monday going to Tuesday. We're going to see you again for Give Me a Break Wednesday. And again, come up on Wednesday. I forgot. Sheesh, I forgot. What were we going to do on Wednesday? I don't know. Something turned up. I think I'll hit. Singing, but I will tell you this. On Friday, we're going to have part 2 of Diane Sawyer's interview with Sammy the Bull Gravano, the man who brought down John Gotti. What story does he have to tell about the time he brought down John Gotti? You'll know. For all of us here at YouTube, stop and give me a break. Stop bullying, speak up. Concentration, not strength. No jaywalking, no drinking and driving, no texting and driving, no driving distracted. Always support people who have the autism spectrum disorder like myself. You do all that, and you have yourself a great night. And always listen to your parents. Bye-bye.